More questions from the civil service boss who says Carrie Johnson was the real Prime Minister. We're going to read into this more from The Guardian, guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here with an article from The Guardian with the headline that more questions from civil service boss who said that Carrie Johnson was the real Prime Minister. The COVID inquiry expects to quiz Simon Case over the Treasury trove of official correspondence. Oh, for a civil servant to basically say that Carrie Johnson was the real PM, that's a pretty damning, to say the least. For someone who's not even who's not elected as an MP, who, yes, is the wife of the Prime Minister, but to make such a statement like that, that's pretty bold. I'd be very interesting when he does sit down and what he's actually going to say. I just think it's quite shocking that a civil servant has said this, and it also once again emphasises, as we talked about the COVID inquiry, and we'll continue to keep an eye on it, and we'll continue to cover the COVID inquiry when possible. But it just shows just the lack of leadership at the time, a severe lack of leadership from Boris Johnson, because he was the Prime Minister, and it's just highly embarrassing for a civil service boss to say this as well. I just think it's extremely embarrassing. I mean, we know that there are things about Boris Johnson, rightly or wrongly, are deeply troubling on the mayor, because he's known to be a liar as well, among other things. But for his wife to basically, allegedly be basically the one in charge, shall we say, of pushing Boris around to get things to do what she wants, that's not a real leader if you're getting pushed around by your wife, to be fair, if I'm honest. Just saying. So let's read into it. So Civil Service Chief Simon Case, who described the government as a terrible, tragic joke in a private WhatsApp messages at the height of the pandemic, is expected to be questioned over a treasure trove of further correspondence when he appears before the official COVID inquiry. The Case, who became cabinet secretary in September 2020, having previously served as a permanent secretary in Number 10, will give evidence to Lady Hallett's inquiry on the 30th or the 31st of October in the first week of November. So at the time of this recording, it'll be just a few weeks before, by the time he will speak publicly in the inquiry. Sources say that many more messages involving Case will be produced, raising further questions about the quality of government during the national emergency. Hallett's inquiry is examining questions about the core UK decision-making and political guidance to establish how well the Whitehall machine reacted under huge pressure. Several top cabinet office officials and civil servants in key positions at the time will give evidence at the current module of the inquiry, including Case and Boris Johnson's former principal private secretary Martin Reynolds, nicknamed Party Marty, because he organised a bring your own booze party in the Downing Street garden during the lockdown. That's going to be very interesting, that one. I'm sure he's not looking forward to that. Some astonishing frank messages from Case were released by the COVID inquiry on Friday. His most damning comments were made in a WhatsApp exchange, which included Lee Kane, Johnson's communication chief, and Dominic Cummings, his senior advisor. In one, Case said the government doesn't have the credibility needed to be imposing stuff within 1 day of deciding not to. SIC. We look like a terrible, tragic joke. If we're going hard, that decision was needed weeks ago. I cannot cope with this. In other disparaging comments, he said Boris Johnson's wife Carrie appears to be the real person in charge of the government. He also wrote at one point that he was going to scream after hearing about a plan by former Health Secretary Matt Hancock to draw up a so-called regional circuit breaker to curb the spread of the virus. Case wrote, I always told that Dominic Cummings was the secret PM. How wrong they are. I look forward to telling the secret city tomorrow. Don't worry about Dom. The real person in charge is Carrie. We actually thought, didn't we? Because the way things were going on under there, that Dominic Cummings was always seen as the real puppet master, didn't we? Of it all. We always thought he was the puppet master, the one pulling the strings in number 10 behind Boris Johnson, but apparently he's not. But it just seems like, yeah, Boris Johnson was kind of roughshotted over by so many people when he was Prime Minister. You know, just someone who's just kind of just letting things go as it goes along. Well, people suffered. Well, people died needlessly. Well, people didn't get said goodbye to their loved ones. They partied while people died. Just a reminder of that. As the inquiry gathers pace, both Case and Rishi Sunak are likely to face growing criticism. Daisy Cooper, the Lib Dem health spokesperson, said Sunak stood on the steps of Downing Street and promised integrity, yet still sitting around the cabinet table are the very same people responsible for Partygate, the mismanagement of the pandemic. It is now clear for all to see that instead of leadership, all that was provided by those in charge was gossip, WhatsApp messages, and secret admissions that they were in over their heads. Sunak pretends to offer change, but all he offers is an out-of-touch and incompetent government. Case has been involved in several controversies since taking the top Whitehall job, as well as being accused of failing to prevent Partygate. He was caught up in a row over a loan facility Johnson was offered with the help of former BBC chairman Richard Sharp. Oh my god, that was a scandal. His name cropped up in the row over the redecoration of Johnson's Downing Street flat, which Case apparently helped to smooth the way for the upgrades to take place. More generally, civil servants have accused him of failing to stand up for officials in the face of repeated criticism and targeted by ministers. This is pretty damning, to say the least, guys. Simon Case has got his own skeletons in his closet, from what it appears to be from the article, and I think it's fair to say that Boris Johnson did not have a grip on COVID whatsoever, and I think he was kind of. I felt to me like during that time. Obviously, we didn't know the full detail, but during that time, I felt like people were pulling his strings, saying him do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, and he was simply doing the things that other people were saying, not as opposed to, right, this is what I, the Prime Minister, want to do, sort of thing, as opposed to taking on the situation and just taking it by the grass there. Apologies, and that's what I think. That's what I think that was the issue. Severe lack of leadership. The severe lack of leadership. Like we all thought Dominic Cummings was running the show. Simon Case here thinks that Carrie Johnson was running the show. Incompetence at the highest level, and it trickled down into the rest of his that incompetence among the rest of them. Well, it'll certainly be interesting to hear his thoughts when he sits down with them, that's for sure. What do you guys make of these comments? What do you guys make of him claiming that Carrie Johnson was the real PM? Are you surprised by Boris Johnson's lack of leadership in this situation, allegedly? What do you guys think of the COVID inquiry so far? Let me know down in the comments below. Like, share and subscribe as always, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.